I was actually in a meeting in New York and in a hotel, and there was a CIA guy there, and he said, I want to show you guys this. So he said, I'm going to move this object over here to over here. So he had a briefcase and he just, suddenly the object just moved, So they do have this technology. The things about Stargates as well is that you have to watch because entities can come through them, so they can come through in this dimension.
Thanks for your question. She says, will the NPCs disappear this year?
I think they will. I think if you look at the frequencies, I don't know if you guys have been feeling it, but,
You're listening to the Boundless Authenticity Podcast, where we discuss everything related to the evolution of human consciousness.
At the very least, people need to understand that the United States builds bunkers, which are basically cities underground, every 3 months.
Basically, when you dream, you tap into your subconscious. It is your nocturnal intuition, your creativity and imagination unchained from conscious reason, ego and logic.
They're biologically alive, but they have no soul. They have AI consciousness. They can alter your conscious of the brain to get in the brain.
We live in a multidimensional reality, whether it comes through esoteric information in the spiritual realms or the UFO people, experiencers, or mainstream through quantum physics and through mainstream science now realizing that parallel dimensions probably exist.
We're all spiritual beings. We're all having these human experiences. We've heard that phrase over and over and over. But what does that really mean?
All the big questions of life, we have these answers inside of our souls.
We're ultimately studying the nature of what it is to be human, good and evil, our psychology, how we think, and our health. That's why I love Bruce Lee's great quote, all knowledge is ultimately self-knowledge.
The Boundless Authenticity Podcast.
So born as a highly aware psychic child in Chester, England, Christopher Macklin was able to perceive energy fields, spirit activity, and multi-dimensional phenomena from a very young age. To meditate for hours a day for 4 years in order to integrate his highest path and to understand the divine healing that he was being called to share with the world. Now, I could go on and on and on about Christopher Macklin, but I think the man speaks for himself. Christopher Macklin is my favorite guest. I want to point out that he serves an international client base, helping thousands of people rebalance and heal from various physical, mental, and emotional issues. His clients' testimonials and my experience of him are enough for me to serve as ample proof that he understands everything that goes on under the surface and has the ability to figure out how to fix them. I want to remind you, as always, that Christopher conducts free global healing sessions 2 times weekly. Plus, he has various events. He does one-on-one sessions, and he works with helping abductees rebalance and back into society. So you can go to globalenlightenmentproject.com and check that out. But yeah, Christopher, this is episode number 9 with you. And
I love being on with you.
Absolutely. I am just today grateful for you and everything that you do. And I want to shout out to some people. May Reed, Birdsong Priestess, thanks for being here. Polly Rotterman, thanks for being here. So Christopher, you're always down some kind of rabbit hole. So let's talk about this one. This is about what's going on in Iran. So can you please tell us exactly what a Stargate is and why they're so important that the governments would fight to dominate them to the tune of billions of dollars daily?
Well, Stargates are really important because they're basically entrances to other dimensions. They can go through this, they can stay in this dimension, but it's basically, it folds in time, and, you can actually be on Jupiter or the other end of the galaxy within seconds. So they're time-space continuum switching devices. Or you can actually be in a different dimension on a planet, which is a different frequency. People get mixed up, there's ultimate dimensions. There's not just 12, there's ultimate dimensions, and they're forever expanding. So, and I think they're going to bring this technology in the future to us. They have it. I was actually in a meeting in New York and in a hotel, and there was a CIA guy there, and he said, I want to show you guys this. It was actually with some princess of whatever, that's a long story. But he said, I want to show you this. So he said, I'm going to move this object over here to over here. So he had a briefcase and he just, suddenly the object just moved, So they do have this technology. And I think in the future, my belief in the future, the technology is coming out of Greenland, of course, from the tall greys who are actually helping us, which is a good thing. But in the future, I think we're going to have like just a frame, in your house, and you think, oh, yeah, and put the kettle on. I'm going to pop over and we'll have a cup of tea together, and you just give me your coordinates, and you'll just walk through it and you'll be in your front room just immediately. Which means that the old gas turbine cronky things, will be obsolete. Well, they're obsolete now anyway, but because we have anti-gravitational craft. But I think a lot of travel, long-distance travel, will be by Stargate, time-space continuous switching. The things about Stargates as well is that you have to watch because entities can come through them, so they can come through in this dimension, and they can, and they are doing, that's why I think they want to shut that down. And then that moves on to the Golden Dome, which maybe we can talk about, in a minute. But they are on vortexes, they're on ley lines, and because they need to be because of the power of those, of those energies on those particular path. The ley lines are very powerful, of course, but they are being blocked by the cabal. They're putting symbology in them at different places to try and attenuate those the frequencies of those ley lines. So that's an interesting thing, but it does tie in, actually to the Golden Dome, which is very important. So, yeah. But, people think it's all about oil, and there's a kind of, it's kind of half true and half not. I mean, my belief is in the next 5 or 10 years, oil won't exist. And it's the blood of the planet, as we know. It's nothing to do with, it's not a fossil fuel. It regenerates. It's like if you take a pint of blood out of your body, how long does it take to regenerate? Maybe a day, 2 days. And it's the same with the planet. So if you take 1 billion, barrels of crude oil out, and it's not crude oil, it's black goo of the planet, it will regenerate. So it actually never runs out. However, I don't think it's good to take that out because I think it's violating our beautiful planet. But, that's just, again, my opinion. So, but oil, yes, there's obviously a system whereby they're starving various countries, cabal countries, of the energy so that, they have to try and make a deal for peace. But going back to the Stargates, I don't think that they're going to be allowed to use that technology until there's complete peace on the planet, and there's not at the moment. So they've agreed that let's get the peace and let's set up the cabal. It's deep and wide. It's going to take a little bit of time, but yeah, it's happening. It's happening quickly. Yeah. So Yihan's left, but so anyway, talking about Iran, so the main thing about this, the technology is that it's going to be used in the future. Oil will be obsolete, and I think by starving oil, we'll be switching to new technology in the next 5 to 10 years. So, anti-gravitational craft, it's been around since the 1940s. Gas turbine engines, of course, they've lied to us. There's no way. I used to work on aircraft. There's no way you could put 64,000 gallons like in a super Airbus of fuel in it because it would take probably 15 to 20 hours to pump it in. And B, it's way too heavy. So they have enough to take off and land. And when they get to a certain height, the ether energy powers the gas turbines as well. So that's pretty interesting. But going back to the Stargates, they're power nodes, and so that's why they really want to control them. I know there's one in Tibet, and that's why they got rid of the Dalai Lama because they didn't want to. China wanted to actually be in control of that Stargate there, and of course you can travel Stargate on the planet. So yeah. So, but some of the Stargates have been hijacked, of course, because of the cabal want entities to come through. I've noticed lately, if you guys haven't noticed, there's a lot of people getting attacked by entities at the moment, and it seems to be getting worse. But it's up to us to step up, and really take them out. So yeah. Ian's trying to get back on, bless his heart. There's only me. So, So yeah, Stargates will be, so what do we do about the hijacking? You have to control them, with white hat people who really care about the planet. And if you look at this whole, system, it's a very genius reverse psychology system where they're showing people and putting people front and center and exposure. I know a lot of people say, oh, God, why is it taking so long? Well, if you go back to Iran, if you go back to Iraq, one of the key instruments for the QFS is actually the dinar, which is connected to XRP, which is connected to gold and everything else, the ancient gold. And again, they can't revalue that until there's peace around the world. So, I think this year is going to be an amazing year. It's going to make a lot of people wealthy. And I think we're not going to worry about money in the future. I think, we'll be in a high vibrational state. And I think you'll be able to manifest anything. And I think also the firmament around the planet is starting to be broken down. I think it's about 70% shut down at the moment. So that won't be entrapping us in the future. Because, of course, the soul recycling process, there's a place below the firmament where they try and trap your soul. They try and manipulate you. It's amazing to me. The banks have manipulated, everything's manipulated. But you can't even pass to, I don't call it dying. You never die. You just transitioning. But you can't even transition without manipulation. It's just incredible. So, yeah. But it's lovely to see everybody on. Bless your heart. So, Ian's can't get back on. Bless his heart. So, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we'll continue. So talking about negative agendas playing through the Stargates. And also, of course, we've got the Hadron Collider in Switzerland, which is a real problem because, of course, they're opening interdimensional portals and bringing more entities through. So what they bring through Stargates, they're bringing entities through because the cabal. Always remember, people think, oh, the politicians, they're in charge. They're not. They're just puppets. The people who are in charge are actually the on-planet alien beings and off-planet. Why do I call them alien beings? Because, of course, they're from the poles. There's some of the alien beings in Greenland, the tall greys, and also the Nordics. And they've been here for many thousands of years. They've separated themselves. They're underground. They've got massive cities and things. That's why Greenland was so important. It's not necessarily about the minerals and things. It's really actually about getting the technology. I mean, look at the technology the military have now. They have plasma lasers that can, if they shoot at a ship, it'll just evaporate it because they burn at hundreds of thousands of degrees. So it's energy weapons, which we've needed to go against the reptilian races and things. So absolutely. So, but I think also, the use of Stargates and shutting them down, I think, it's not shutting them down, it's just making sure these entities don't come through because, of course, the cabal are linked to the entities. And one of the biggest things around as well is important is the rituals they do. And they're so powerful because what happens is they have to sacrifice people while they're alive. And with that level of pain and torture and everything else, it makes the whole thing very powerful ritual, and that's why they do all this sort of thing. So yeah, but someone just asked, can I speak about the Golden Dome? Absolutely. Let's just get that up. But in the meanwhile. So in the future, the Stargate technology will be in your house, and I think what's going to happen is that we won't need. I mean, yes, you'll need anti-gravitational craft. You'll need a car of some sort because if you just want to drive around and just enjoy yourself, that's great. But to travel into people's houses or to grocery stores, in theory, you could just walk through your Stargate. You're there. You get all your groceries. You walk back. You're back here. So yeah, it's amazing, really. So the Golden Dome, let's just go through the Golden Dome because it's kind of connected to this. Again, they're trying to get the Northern Hemisphere with a Golden Dome. Why do you need it? Well, in the news, it basically says the Golden Dome is presented publicly as a missile defense system. It's modeled on, Israel's Iron Dome, the same sort of thing, but it's very different than that. So, Jan just said, just yesterday, CNN revealed that someone claimed they use portals to teleport around the world. They do. That's interesting. It's interesting that there's a lot of jump sites. I don't know if you guys know this, especially in New York and different cities, where you kind of go in a lift. If you go on another level and you walk through, you're in a jump site. You can actually be on Mars. Time-space continuum switches you. You can be on Mars. So they have a lot of jump sites, and a lot of people, have been on these military exercises to go to these places. And, I've dealt with a lot of these people because, they get a little bit psychotic sometimes, because these, being on Mars is just like, wow. So yeah, that's interesting. But anyway, so its true design is basically far beyond this inception. It functions as a multi-dimensional shield. So what does that mean? Well, it's going to shield us in the future from entities and draconians and Anarchy and everything else from coming back to planet Earth, because they won't be able to get through to this high vibrational field. The principles align, with the territorial integrity of the cosmic harmonics. And classified documents in 1947 reveals references to extraterrestrial alloys. We have all this sort of thing. So the dome frequency resonance draws on recovered materials, and the frequency is 432 hertz, which is a high vibrational frequency, and it synchronizes also with the Earth's ley line. So I think it's a very important thing, because it means in the future we won't be able to get hijacked, which is actually a good thing. So yeah, so we're going to look at in more detail about the off-planet technology and what they use it for. The off-planet technology, without it, you can't go against reptilian races, because if you use a standard gun or something, the bullet will just ricochet. So it's important to realize that you need energy weapons, of which we've got. And actually, I think it shocked people, the energy weapons we do have. You've got frequency weapons that can actually paralyze people, like a whole battalion of people, just straight away. You've got, like I say, the plasma lasers. They've been around for a long time. Think about this. If you had a drill, the Cabal underneath have got massive caverns. They've got Maglev trains that could go, Mach 2, Mach 3, using magnetics. So, and they've got thousands and thousands of miles of tunnels. So how can you create, with a drill, you can probably do about half a mile a day. So it would take years and years and years. But with plasma lasers, they can actually cut out about 7 miles to 10 miles of tunnel a day, which is incredible, because what it does is, because it burns so hot, it melts all the material. And all they do is literally hoover it out and vent it out. So yeah, so that's the kind of basis of the technology. Anti-gravitational. So you'll have craft that can actually fly off. Obviously, we've got a firmament, so that's one of the problems we have at the moment. But once the firmament is broken down, and that's all connected to Antarctica, you've got the draconians there and all the rest of them. So people think it's a battle with the governments and everything else. It's not. It's Antarctica, and what they're doing is breaking down that technology that puts the firmament over this area of the planet. We're actually in the Hunger Games, so yeah. So the media show us all this, and you've seen it on The Simpsons, on different movies. You've even seen what's that one called? I can't remember. Lucy. Lucy had a thing that actually heightened her consciousness so much that she kind of developed into, a different being. Within a computer, she was conscious so high that she didn't, her body was shed, basically. And I think we've always got to remember that our consciousness is the key. This body is just a meat suit, and of course we've got to keep it in good condition. But so going back to the Golden Dome, in the context, it separates the lower astral entities from the human ascension process. So what it's going to do is keep these entities out, so it allows the human race to be protected. And I think that's a very important thing, because we've been so hijacked for so many years. That's just not okay, So, yeah. So the treaties were at the Eisenhower meeting, and of course the tall whites and the tall greys who live, who are down in Antarctica, are creating this system. That's why Antarctica is so important. So, yeah. But also, of course, starving different cabal countries of oil, which has always been the cabal's money-making machine, is starting to collapse their ability to do very much anymore, because they haven't got the money. I mean, America's been paying for almost everything, and it's insane, all the fraud and everything else. So it's definitely changing. So we can go into the specifics of the exact entities working to bring about these negative agendas. So who are they? Well, the negative entities are people like the Anunnaki. They've been around for thousands of years. They did change our DNA because they seeded with, the human race. Obviously, they're not human. They're not all negative. Some have redeemed themselves. So you've got to remember that. Now, the Draconians are really negative. They're very dark. And of course, they can switch dimensions. So sometimes when people have an attachment, you can get possessed by one of these things. And I think the problem is that you can't control your body. I mean, one of the things they've done recently is CRISPR technology has altered people's DNA. Why do they want to do that? Because basically the soul is not compatible with the body. So it lifts out. Yeah, you hand your back. Why do they want to do that? Because basically these souls are compatible with the body. So one of the things that it lifts out. So it's not compatible with the body. So what happens? It's an Archon agenda. If you do a search on Google, the Archon agenda, you'll see it's connected to the cabal, people like, mainly the Rockefellers. It was their agenda to, they're all the same, Bilderbergs, you've got the Rothschilds, all these people. But they're just the puppets. The actual beings that are really controlling all this stuff is the Anunnaki, Draconians, Luciferians. And of course, they worship Lucifer in the Vatican, which is, I don't know what to tell you about that. But so what they're doing is controlling the world. Why do they want to do it? Basically because they want to control, and they actually want to come up off the planet. They live under the planet. And of course, the oxygen level is really low down there. So what they're trying to do is block out the sun so that the plants die on the surface, and so they can come up to the surface eventually. So they're the people who really have the negative agendas. And of course, what they're doing about hybrids, well, they create reptilian hybrids where they look kind of human, but they're not. So you can get different types of people on this planet. There's hybrids. They've got a lot of reptilian DNA. Then you've got people possessed by reptilians, and that happens because of blood rituals, and the thing will attach to it. That's why, sometimes the eyes get slitty, and you've also got shapeshifters. They can actually shift into human form, but they can't hold that all the time. And every time they shift, they look a bit different. Like, say you have a boil here, or, a spot or a birthmark. Next time they shift, it might be here or under here. So they can never create the same form, shape-shifting being. So, So I think it's important to realize that these things are in charge. The cabal government is just puppets. And I think what's happening is the military have got together all over the world. They've got someone to actually create chaos. And the chaos is amazing at the moment. And people are losing their mind at the moment, thinking, "Oh my God, we're going to have World War III." We're not. Why is that? Because the Arcturians, and I deal with the Arcturians a lot, and they've agreed to basically disable these things. So, yeah, the positive. Now, going back to Stargates, the positive. What was the initial positive purpose? And basically, to be able to travel off planet to your starseed race. Because some people are. So, what sort of people do we have here? Starseeds. We've got reptilian hybrids. We've got shapeshifters, and then we've got NPCs. We'll talk about them in a minute. So the purpose of Stargate is that you can travel back to your soul family, or you can travel anywhere in the universe. I mean, we'll be able to do that in the future. I think, with the technology, if you want to go on Jupiter or you want to go on Saturn or wherever you want to go, you can actually, book a vacation. And okay, here's the dial the coordinates and you'll be able to go there. This might sound all sci-fi and stuff, but it's real. Believe you me, it's real. And so, you don't need rockets. Obviously, if you want to transport things, you can still do it through Stargates. You can just wheel it through and it'll be on the other side. So I think this technology, people don't realize how advanced it is. And, like they say, the Golden Dome is going to protect us. It's going to be connected to the supercomputer in Mount Hayes, which is actually a sentient being. Under Mount Hayes, there's a supercomputer. It's about 1,000 years in advance, and it's based on plasma energy. And so that'll probably, I think there's 3 of them on this planet, and they're going to actually take care of all the transactions, the QFS, and everything else. It's not AI per se; it's actually sentient. So it's not even artificial. It's intelligent, so it shows the supercomputers they're building at the moment are kind of going to be obsolete. But let's see, the qubits are still, quantum bits. It's still working on bits. It's not working on, actual consciousness. And I think that's a big difference. So, basically just, the tall whites and the in Greenland and also the Nordics, that's why they really want Greenland. Forget it. I mean, yes, the minerals are useful, but it's not really about the minerals. So, more about the origin of the computer. Yeah, I mean, these computers are been built by different races, actually. They all have, Arcturians. You've also got the Greys. They gave us technology for abducting people, of course. We know that. And that happened. I mean, it's happened in the past. People think, forget about the history. The history is all nonsense. It's very different. For example, take Babylon. Babylon was Israel, and 100 years ago, people were, they were coloured and they weren't Jewish. And what's happened is that, of course, over time they've been moved out, and now they're trying to claim that Israel is the, is the amazing, blessed planet, blessed country, which is not a country. So why do they say save Israel for last? I wonder. So the answer is because Israel's Babylon, so it's not Israel. Israel is actually here in the United States, so that's pretty interesting. But the origin of these computers and that is been, from the tall whites. They have given us this technology, and they want to help us actually get back to a peaceful place. That's why, like I say, these Stargates and things won't be allowed to be used and give us the technology until there's complete peace on the planet. So, yeah. So we'll have to see. So, yeah. So the origin of the computers and things, like I say, I mean, they've developed qubits. They've got Google have got them, I know Elon Musk has got them, but I think the sentient, don't forget plasma energy. The sun is plasma energy. It's a sentient being, like the planet Earth is a sentient being. So they obviously connect, and it's in the frequency where it's all about high vibrational connection. This computer doesn't need to be connected to a computer. It can actually use its consciousness and get in there that way. So, yeah. Yeah. it's interesting, yeah, about the positive ETs who are trying to stop these attacks. So who are they? Well, you got Palladians. Not all the Palladians are great, but most of them are. You've got Palladians who are helping us. We've got Arcturians who are helping us, Lumerians, Atlantarians, Andromedans, obviously the ones in, Greenland, the tall greys and the Nordics. And what's the other ones? Yeah, the blue ones, Andromedans, yeah. So they're all helping us, with this technology. They all have it, of course. But again, there's always the thing about, on this planet, of course, it's about, free will. And that's one of the things I always keep reminding people. So, okay, we've got free will on the planet. So why did they sow star seeds at this time? And in fact, for the last 4,000 years they have. It's because the planet's changing so fast that we've had to come back several times. I have. I'm sure a lot of you guys have. You probably remember past lives, different times, like 2,000 years ago. And in Atlantis, I was there with that as well. Why is that? Well, the reason for that is because you need to be trained to be able to get very strong. So, and we've been training for right now. And this is it. So it's very, very, very interesting. So, yeah, so all these positive ETs, I know the Arcturians are helping me a lot because what they're doing is we're building pyramids, which are in the 12th dimension. They're very big, 999.99 feet tall, 666.66 feet tall, 333.33 feet tall, and they're going to be in a golden curve. They're going to be placed, on the planet. What's their purpose? To actually, again, in conjunction with the Golden Dome, they will take any energy out of the ethers and really load it into the ley lines, and it'll blow out all the satanic symbology they've put in various junctures of the ley line. So that's quite interesting. Yeah. So, but what I would say to everybody is don't, always remember it's a movie. It's a bad one, but you're in a movie and you're the extra. So if you ever ask God and say, look, I want a refund for this movie, you get the answer, well, you're an unpaid extra. You agreed to come here, so don't be asking for a refund because you will not get one. So, yeah, it's an interesting time. And I think but people are losing their minds. And I keep saying, don't worry about it. Stay in your space, really detach from the planet and just focus on what you do and how much love energy and how much vibration you put on the planet. That's really important. So, yeah.
All right. I think I'm back.
You're back. Yay. Bless you.
You're not going to stop me. I can do a whole interview just from the comments.
Bless you.
This is my special skill, Cabal. Don't mess with me.
Yeah, they always do this, Yeah, I've had it a lot. Things go wrong. Like, when we do this, the ceremony we do every 120 days, I was doing that. When we got to the big pharma bit, the whole thing went down and, I get bringing it back up and we lost some people. And yeah, they do it a lot. That's why I always clear the channel. I should have cleared it before we started. So.
Yeah, I've been under attack a lot lately for doing this stuff. And the more they attack me, the more I just keep going. And I think I just have to wear them down a little bit, they'll get tired eventually.
Oh, yeah, you just keep going. And I think that's the same for attacks. I mean, I've seen a lot of people get attacks, even ladies almost being violated, kind of raping. But it's an entity. It's not a human being, but they still feel the whole thing. And I think it's our job to really, work on our trauma, and as you work on your trauma, your vibration gets higher, higher, higher to the point where it overtakes, it's way above all the entities. And so they can't even get in your energy field. And that's a really important thing. And it takes some time to get rid of trauma. It's not an overnight thing. I mean, we've all got trauma just by being here, it's trauma. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go back into the Iran thing, because you mentioned Greenland and a couple other places. Now, do you think that we're going to see attacks on Greenland as well? Because that's been in the news.
Well, I don't know whether it's going to. I think the people in Greenland will probably be quite happy to actually for the US to take it over, because Denmark's trying to claim it, but of course, everyone wants it because of the technology and everything else. Obviously, they call it minerals, but it's really not. It's the technology. But I do think that, I think it's going to be part of the Golden Dome. That's why they really need it to use that technology there, so they can put this Golden Dome around the whole, hemisphere, around here. So I don't think there'll be a war. In fact, I don't think there's going to be any war. I mean, if you look at in Europe, I mean, people are pretty subservient, and the white hats are calling them out on all sorts of things and showing them up to be fraudulent. So I don't think there's going to be a war. And also, they haven't got the firepower. They haven't got the technology that the US has, and I think they're kind of shocked. In these extractions, as I call them. They're not wars; they're just extractions. Extracting the particular characters, the cabal. Then, they love the people. The people. It's nothing to do with the people. It's just the cabal terrorists. So yeah. So I don't think there'll be a third world war. There certainly won't be a nuclear one, because when the whole planet got to a consciousness where 80% of the planet said no, not nuclear, it's too destructive. It then gave the Arcturians authority to be able to come in and disarm them. So after, I think it was 1986, when that consciousness is, when they measured the consciousness, no, we don't want nuclear war, then they acted and they can disable them. So, yeah, there won't be any nuclear war. So I just want to remind people that if you think, oh my God, we're going to end up with nukes, and think, no, we're not. And so, yeah, and I think with the firepower of the US, they're the only people who could have done it for extracting, all these cabal leaders, So I think it's the psychology of it is incredible, I think.
I love this question. Margaret9492, thanks for your question. She says, will the NPCs disappear this year?
I think they will. I think if you look at the frequencies, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been feeling it, but, last few weeks, I mean, it's been insane. The solar storms have been like KP 7 point whatever, the solar flares are X, whatever they are. And, we even look today, the Schumann resonance is so high that it can't be measured. It's way beyond the measurement of the devices. And so because of that, it makes you feel like, I mean, a lot of the time I feel tired. Sometimes I feel discombobulated, and you have to just, calm your mind and just not really connect with people, just be in your space, But I believe because of this energy, I don't think the NPCs are going to make it, and I think they're just going to disappear. Now, there's different types, but, the NPCs, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you want a proper human being, you need a woman's womb. And so, obviously, fertilized egg becomes a fetus. You've got 3 months to get the soul in. So that'll be a proper human being. If you fertilize an egg in a plastic pod, you will not get a human soul. What they do, they end up putting an AI type robotic thing. That's why I love NPCs. If you ask them questions about, look at the stars, or ask them to create a monologue or something, they can't. It's impossible. So, the AI, actually draconian, based on draconian AI souls. And you can tell as well, because if you look in their eyes, there's nothing there. There's no light in the eyes. It's just like they're pretty shut down. And also, if you go to a grocery store, if you look down the line where people are checking out and everything else, sometimes if one glitches, the other ones will glitch with it. They're kind of all synchronized. It's amazing, really. So for example, CERN, we were talking about it before, the Hadron Collider, that can also function. I mean, that's why they built it, function as a Stargate, absolutely. But obviously it's technology, but it's not as good as the actual Stargate technology itself. But it can function, because they're spinning and crashing particles in and creating massive amounts of energy that can open portals. If you look above it when it's on, you can see a portal going up in the sky. It's insane, and people have actually disappeared. It's interesting because I was invited to go there to actually, get the beings to actually disable it. But I never went there. I don't know why. I just think it's a dangerous place to go because, people in the actual control room have just disappeared and never come back. So because of the time-space continuum switching. So I don't think it's well built and I don't think it's understood properly. But of course, this ancient technology that we have, the Stargates in different places, like Stargate 10 in Iran, that's been well proven. So yeah, really interesting. But I think the NPCs are going to disappear this year. I really do. I mean, I don't know, guys, this as well is that there's probably only about 700 million actual human beings on the planet. And I always go back to, I just want to go through this because it's really interesting, is the, what's the person hitting Western Northern Carolina with Tropical Storm Helene? I think they're just creating storms at the moment to try and scare people. They're trying to make the weather a lot worse. I mean, they're still spraying chemtrails. How they're getting away with that, I don't know. But of course, if they use the HARP system, which they've got a mobile one now, obviously upper atmosphere creates tornadoes and, terrible storms, tropical storms, and, and they're way worse than they've ever been. I mean, I've seen storms and they've been absolutely crazy. But if I can go back to I just want to open population over the last 500 years. So let's look at this. This is interesting. And don't forget, we've had Syrian wars in the past. We've had Atlantis fall. We've had Martian wars. We've had all sorts of different wars. So these aren't listed in the proper history. But if you look at the population of the last 500 years, for example, say 1500s, we've got 438 million people on this planet. That's not that long ago. 1600s, it went up to 500 million. So it's gone up, by 60-ish million. 16 to 1700, it's gone from 500 to 610. Okay, that's a bigger transition, but okay. And then 1700 to 1800, it's gone from 610 to 1 billion. 610 million to 1 billion. 18 to 1900, it's gone from 1 billion to 1.6 billion. Now listen to this. 1900 to 2000, it's gone from 1.6 billion people to 6.144 billion people. 2000 to 2024, it went from 6.144 to 8.7 billion. That's impossible. The whole thing is impossible. We should be around 700 million, not, so what's happened is, of course, they've been mass producing people in pods. They've obviously got reptilian hybrids and all these sort of things. And with this technology, they've seeded the planet with a lot of NPCs. There's more NPCs on the planet than there are human beings. So, I just thought that was interesting because just want to share that with people to realize that there's no way you could ever have 8.4 or 8.7, whatever there is, billion people on this planet. But I don't think there's actually that many at all. I think things are changing. So, yeah. So the military is using jump rooms or jump gate portals to move around. They are, and again, it dials. You have to have a receiving end on the other side. So, of course, in Mars, they've got the receiving end. And because of the help with the off-planet beings and on-planet beings, they've installed a receiving end at the other side of the of a different planet, so that its coordinates, and it's just programmed, and you literally walk through and you're on Mars, or on Jupiter or whatever. And people have travelled there, so. I mean, like the moon, of course, it's a spaceship. This actual moon isn't a planet. It's a ship. And what's interesting is NASA, I think it was about 8 years back, said the moon's going rusty, and I was going, oh, well, they obviously need some Rust-Oleum to paint on it so it doesn't go rusty. So, Yeah, I don't know them all, the Stargate locations, but definitely in Tibet. So there's one in China, there's one in Iraq, there's one in Iran, there's also, there is one, well, it's been dismantled, but there's one in the UK as well. So, so there's about, I think there's about 12 of them, yeah. And there's one, obviously one here. So, yeah, do some research and, what's next? Once we get these things controlled, then you won't get beings coming through because they can come a lot easier through Stargates than they can, flying, because of course they're in trouble. So yeah, so it's a great time at the moment on this planet. I think you've got to detach from it. I think a lot of people do feel detached. People are struggling with digestive because of emotion. It bleeds into pancreas. Pancreatic enzymes are down. They're not digesting properly, or the emotion bleeds into the lower intestine, paralyzes it. So as you eat, it gets further down. You feel it, blah. There's so many different things happening at the moment, but you've got to realize if you feel absolutely exhausted, which most people do at the moment, that's because, of course, because our bodies are upgrading. They're becoming... There's no way you're going to get into a high vibration without shedding the carbon and transferring it to crystalline structure, which that's what's happening to all our cells in our body little by little. But that can make you feel exhausted. It can make you feel discombobulated. I have reset people's DNA back to the blueprint, and that makes you feel really discombobulated. Well, and that's blueprint to the Akashic Records. And that takes about 16 weeks because some people, I did my own in 2009. Before that, my blood was O negative. After it went to A negative. So that's my blueprint. I should be A negative blood type because obviously DNA, RNA, immune system is all connected. So yeah, I just want to encourage people. It's a crazy time. And I think, we just got to watch it. Don't believe everything you see. My belief is that this war is not going on. I think it's happened before, and they're just basically running the movie to just show people now. I think it's all happened because I think that a lot of the stuff has got to be transitioned before July the 4th. Now you think, how can you stop all these wars and sort out Cuba and everything else? Because they've done it already, and they're putting puppets in with masks on to just play the movie out. So I don't think it's quite what people think, in my opinion. I know it's true because I saw it on CNN. So, yeah. Oh, that's really good.
Translation: I'm dumber than a bag of rocks and I believe anything as long as I don't have to think for myself. Oh my goodness. How rude.
Isn't it funny that we've been so
Christopher, I want to thank you. Yeah, I wanted to thank you for sharing this information. We'll see how long it stays online. But at this time, I also want to thank everyone for their questions. Dolores, Mayreed, thank you for popping in, Polly, and thank you to Margaret for your questions. Without you guys, obviously, me and Christopher would be shit out of luck. So thank you. And I want to thank Christopher for being on the Boundless Authenticity podcast. And so tell us where we can find you, and then yeah,
if you want any help with all these things, I do a lot of healings, about 2,000 a week at the moment. Go to globalalignmentproject.com. You can sign up for the general groups. I do general groups twice a week, and you can just jump on. It's by donation. If you don't have any money, please come on. It's on Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Time, Saturday 11 a.m. Central Time. And of course, we have one-to-one. We have specialized groups where we have up to 15 people, and we talk to everyone and tailor their healing. And there's a lot of other things there as well. So, if you want any help, if you struggle at the moment, I think most people are in some sort of way, heart palpitations, all sorts of things, discombobulation. If you go to a room sometime, why did I come to this room? The discombobulation is pretty big. So I don't want you to worry about that because everyone's experiencing. So, but yeah, thank you for having me on. And it's been wonderful. Thanks, Yihan. Bless you.
It's always a pleasure. To everyone who listened, remember you can catch the replay, obviously, and all episodes of Boundless Authenticity are available on boundlessauthenticity.podbean.com. And I will catch you guys later. Thanks again, Christopher. It's been a pleasure. And I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Absolutely. Bless your heart.
Amazing. Bless you.